Hey everyone! Today we are going to be making a Mardi Gras wreath. It's going to be super fun. I can't believe it's already that time of year. Okay, so for my materials, what I have is 2 bolts of 10-inch mesh. I have a solid color and then this awesome metallic Mardi Gras mesh. The solid I cut into 9-inch pieces. The Mardi Gras mesh I cut into 18-inch pieces. So I have 36 pieces of my solid because I'm going to be putting 2 pieces into each peg on my form. And then I have 18 pieces of the Mardi Gras because I'm going to be putting 1 of those into each peg. So that was my mesh, 9 inches and 18 inches. Then I have 4 different ribbons that I chose, and I cut these into 14-inch pieces. I have 5 of each piece because these are going to be going in this back ring, and I'm going to be doing them in groups of 2. So these 2, then here, and then here, and then here. I'm going to be alternating around. There's 10 pegs, so I need 5 of each ribbon. So cut your ribbons into 14-inch pieces. I'm going to set them aside. And then I have a sign. I have some picks. I'm going to... Oh, this ribbon's amazing. I have some ribbons. We're going to do some bows. So let me show you the mesh technique. All right, so we are going to be starting in this back bigger ring first. And what we are going to be doing is I'm going to take, and every peg is going to be the same. So they're going to get 2 pieces of the solid that is, they're cut to 9-inch pieces, and then they're going to get 1 piece of the 18-inch metallic. So I'm going to be rolling these and then ruffling this. Got to make it nice and complicated for you guys. So I'm just going to give these just a loose roll, almost like the tube that they come on. You don't want them too tiny. These are going to go in like this. So we're going to make an X. We're going to pinch it. I'm going to push it close down to the like metal form. You want it nice and snug. You don't want it tied loosely or else it's going to flop. So I put the 2 mesh in like that, going horizontally, not going up this direction. Twist those in, and then we're going to be ruffling this piece. So the edge that's cut, I roll it under so that it doesn't fray. So I give it a little curl at the end, and then I gather it. So you can and I try to stay towards the center of the mesh, but you can either do it while you're holding it, and then we're going to curl this end under, and that's how you make your ruffles. So you can either do it holding it in the air, or sometimes people will roll it under like this and gather it on the table, whatever's easiest. Just kind of run your fingers up the center and then curl this under. It's personal preference. You can do it however you want. Okay, so this ruffled piece is going to go right on top of where we just added those mesh curls. And we're going to give it a good twist. And we're going to go on to the next peg. We're going to leave these open also because I'm going to be adding ribbon onto that after. I want to get all my mesh in first. So again, 2 pieces of the solid color. Roll them into just loose tubes. Make an X with them. Pinch them in the middle. And they're going to go in right next to that last grouping. Twist it in. We're going to add our ruffle. And again, for the ruffle, you just want to slightly curl your cut edge. And then you can gather it and then curl the other edge in. And you have your ruffle. Now, since this is an ombre mesh where it's purple on one side, green on the other, I want to make sure I'm putting them into my wreath the same direction so I don't end up with 2 green next to each other and then 2 purple. I want it pretty well blended. So I'm going to always have my purple on this side, my green on that side as I go around. Curl. Make an X. Pinch it. This is one of my favorite techniques to use with mesh because it makes it very full and poofy. Bigger the better. Roll it. Pinch. If you are new to wreath making, don't get overwhelmed. It's definitely something you have to... The only way you'll get better is by actually doing it and practicing. So don't quit if you don't like your first wreath. They always get better. And maybe there's a different style that's easier for you. I know on our website we have some wreath kits. And they come with instructions, and it's a different mesh technique. It's super easy. That's what I would suggest if you're new, because it's pretty basic and it's hard to mess up. Wreaths are very forgiving. This is probably the most boring part of wreath making. I promise you it gets more fun. Almost done with that back row. Okay. Curl it. Pinch. I'm trying to go kind of quick so I don't bore you guys with just watching me do the same thing over and over again. I'm always looking for more styles to teach. So if there is a certain type of thing that you want to learn, definitely leave me a comment. I like to offer a variety. So if you go on our YouTube and you don't see something, let me know. And I'll get started on it. Woo! One more peg. Sometimes metallic mesh could be kind of annoying to work with. It likes to snag everything. So you definitely, you don't want to work it too much. So you want to kind of just get it in place and leave it alone. Okay, so now I'm going to be adding in my ribbons into this back ring right on top of where I just added the mesh. So like I said at the beginning, I have two groups of ribbons that I've paired together, and they're cut into 14-inch pieces. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab one of each from the first grouping, and I'm going to make an X, and across the center I'm going to gather it, just like when you make a bow and you're pinching it. Do that, and then when I go to twist it onto my wreath, I want the ribbons coming towards the outer edge. I don't want them going in the middle, or else they just get lost or covered. So we're going to twist this in, and I like to kind of twist and tug on them a little bit to get them so they are coming outward. I hope that makes sense. I don't want them to get hidden. So we're going to turn it, and now for this next peg, I'm going to grab one of each from the next grouping. And I'm going to do the same thing, make an X, gather across the center, and I'm just going to twist it in and tug it just a little bit, make sure everything's showing and fanned out. This also will help your wreath appear bigger. So next, go back to the first grouping, make an X, pinch it, twist it on, pull it towards the outer edge slightly, and if there's a solid, I always try to put a patterned one over it. Doesn't matter too much. Again, it's my OCD issue. Make an X, gather it, twist it on. You just keep doing this until that whole back ring is filled. It's hard to tell in the video, but this is so glittery and glitzy. Oh my goodness. Looks amazing. Fan it all out. Look at this ribbon. Definitely check out our website if you want some awesome supplies. It's shopdesignerdiy.com. That's where I've got all the mesh ribbons, the sign. Alright, this one. Almost done with the back ring. Okay, last one. Twist it on right here. Now the next step is going to be adding the mesh into this top ring. So I pop up all of the little pegs so they're ready to go. And we are going to be doing the mesh the same exact way. So back at it again. 2 pieces of green. Make an X. Pinch them. Twist them on. Then we're going to add the ruffle. It doesn't matter which peg you start with. Just pick a peg and you stick it on. Oh my goodness, I love this mesh. Okay, so 2 green again. I need a bigger table. Definitely leave me a comment too. I want to know, like, do you sell your wreaths that you make, or do you make them just for fun, for yourself? Let me know. I'm always curious. Now, I have not pre-cut any ribbons for this front ring yet because I am going to be adding on my sign, some bows, and some picks first. Then I'll see if I need any more ribbon. And if I do, I can just cut more pieces. I just didn't want to waste any ribbon pre-cutting it and then end up not using it. So we will see how it comes out and decide. Almost done with the mesh. Gets repetitive. Definitely go to our YouTube channel and check out our Sippin' with Summer and Sharon videos. Me and Summer make different drinks, coffee, cocktails, just anything really. And we just hang out and craft. We usually laugh very hard. So it's a little bit more entertaining. And we each do a project and we change it up a little bit so they come out differently to give you guys different options. But yeah, definitely check those out. Tons of fun. And then for the ruffles, every once in a while, if I have one that's like facing upward, I do kind of flatten out the curved edge so it is laying a little bit more flat. Again, that's personal preference. You don't have to do that. This wreath that I am making could be yours. We will be listing it on our website for sale. So if you end up loving it, you can just buy it already done. You don't even have to make it. Let me stick these in the last peg. One more ruffle. And then the mesh is done with. Perfect. All right, next is to add on the sign. I'm gonna do it, I don't want it centered completely. I'm gonna do it slightly off-centered. I don't really have a reason why, it's just personal preference. Let me grab a mounting square real quick. I'm going to put a mounting square on the back of the sign, help secure it so it doesn't flip and flop everywhere. So it's hard to tell because my light is so bright. It's just a little mounting square. It has a sticky piece of foam on the back side. I also add some hot glue for extra security. And I'm just going to glue it right onto the center of my sign. Push it down real good. And then just to make it extra secure, I take my hot glue and I run hot glue around the sides. It just secures it a little bit better. That way, like, we live in Arizona, so everything has to kind of be secured more. So you can see, add that on the back and just glue around it. Let it dry really good. It's much easier to attach a wire through this than to hang it from this, just because then it kind of flops. So I usually just ignore this little rope. Get it to dry faster. And I'm going to run a piece of our fabric covered floral wire through it. We have this available on our website. I think it's like bundles of 20. These work for everything. So I'm going to tie that to it. Nice and secure. And then I'm going to use this wire to just tie it around the whole wreath. Like I said, I'm doing it slightly off to one side, just a little, and kind of tilted. You can do it in the center if you want. Actually, now that I see that, I think I want that. I changed my mind, everyone. I want it in the center. So I'm going to bring these wires down inside. Every project, it's like you just got to go with the flow. It's okay to change your mind. All right, so I'm going to very carefully flip this over. And I'm going to tie it right onto the wreath form. And not on the same spot. I'm going to kind of go from two different sides, so it's not moving. And I could even use another wire if I want, but that's not good. Okay, so I have that. Next step is my favorite part, the bows. Okay, I picked out some 4-inch ribbons. And I'm going to do 2 bows. I'm going to do one off this top side and one off the bottom side. So I have this awesome 4-inch. Oh, they're so pretty. And then look at this one. It's very hard to tell because the flash on my light, like the light is so bright. Okay. So I am just going to do very basic 3-layered bow. So each layer is just going to have a loop on each side with 2 tails hanging down. So I'm going to kind of eyeball it for now so I can cut this tail. Let me move this a little bit. Okay. So, also, if you are new to bow making, we have more in-depth tutorials. But you kind of just lay it out, make sure your loops are about the same size. You can always trim your tails at the end. And I'm going to pinch it. Just gather it. And I usually start with the back layer for these because I want to kind of size them and make sure that's the right size. So once you pinch it, take your floral wire and tie it. I usually kind of slip knot the wire around the bow. And since I started in the back layer, I tighten it and do a little single knot on the top of this layer. That way when I make each additional layer of the bow, I'm just going to stack it directly on top of this one. Okay, this one has to be front and center so it shows. The camera does not do it justice. Okay, so I'm going to be making the same style again. Measure out similar length of tail. Same with the loops. I want it to be just slightly smaller than the purple, just so the purple peeks out a little bit. Cut this tail. This ribbon is gorgeous. All right, and then I'm just going to pinch down the center. So pretty. Like that. And I'm going to add it right onto the top of the purple. Use the same wire to tie it on. And I'm just going to do, this bow I'm just going to do 2 layers. So I'm going to bring my wire to the back. I'm going to double knot it. And I'm going to leave the wire on so I could tie it directly onto my wreath. I want to add a center ribbon. So I have this glittery 5/8 width gold ribbon. Cut a little piece of that. And I'm going to tie it, or not tie it, but I'm going to glue it on to the center. So each bow will have the purple, the green, the gold. Ties everything together. So I'm basically just going to be hot gluing these 2 flaps down onto the back of the bow. Hot, hot, hot. All right, so for the tails, I'm going to dovetail them. And I am going to be fray checking the tails because this ribbon will fray very, very easily. So get my fray check. And I don't know how well you can see, but I'm just going to carefully glide it across that cut edge. Just thin line. You don't want to glob it on. Goes on nice and easy. It's like nail polish consistency probably. And after like a minute, it dries clear. It's not sticky, so if it touches something, it's not gonna stick to it. Yeah, just do that to all the edges. Okay, I'm just gonna set that there for now. On to the next bow. Look at this ribbon. Oh. Okay, so for this one, I'm gonna do purple again for the back, and I'm gonna do the gold for the top layer. Make sure I have enough. This ribbon is so fun to work with. So pretty. I'm gonna do a little bit longer of a tail. And like I said, I have more in-depth bow tutorials. This is just gonna be a quick bow making. Trim that. same thing again. I'm going to tie it with my wire. Tie a knot to the top. That way I can just add the next layer directly onto it and I don't have to hold all the layers. Make sure your loops are about the same size. Check your tails. And then you go to your next ribbon. So pretty. And then I kind of eyeball it to get it about the same size. This ribbon is thick. All right, so I'll cut my tail about the same length. Add it right on top. Double knot it on the back. Let me see, I probably don't. For a narrow. I'm going to use this for the center. It's a little bit wider than I would like, but I want each bow to have all three colors. So I'm going to cut it, and I'm just going to fold it to get it narrower. That. That's going along the middle. Cut the excess off. Glue down the flaps. And then I'm going to trim the tails. I know there's still a lot of you that don't use a lot of 4-inch ribbons, but let me tell you, 4-inch is probably like my favorite width to work with. Everything looks so beautiful, grand. Love it. Especially these designer ribbons. Definitely makes your project a lot nicer than when you use like the cheap budget ribbons. You will notice a huge difference. Let it dry for a second. Alright. I don't know why I randomly sing things. Alright, this bow I'm going to be adding to the top. So I don't want it to block my sign. Kind of playing with it a little bit. Another good thing about good quality ribbon, the wire in it is so much better. So I'm going to have that kind of off-centered, and I don't want it to block the sign. This one's going to be going out this way. Curl these tails a little if I want. kind of lay it out before you tie it on. Make sure it's where you want. Definitely love it. And I do. Okay. So now I am going to be tying the bows onto the wreath. So I'm just going to take one wire and shove it down into the center and take this one around the outer edge. And I'm gonna do it kind of tight. Let me move that. I want the bow nice and snug so it looks like it is part of the wreath. I don't want it floating on top of everything because then it just doesn't look together. So do it nice and snug. Be careful not to accidentally snap your wire. I'm gonna add that one on. Turn it around. There we go, humming again. I don't know why. Okay, so I am going to bring this wire into the center. So we'll grab it from below. And bring this piece of wire towards the back. And I'm going to tie it around the wreath frame. Cut the excess wire. So pretty. I love it. Okay, next I have these picks. I have all different kinds of picks. I don't know what I want to use yet. Okay, so I am going to spread these out a little bit. And like I said, always kind of place your things on your wreath so you can kind of decide where you want everything. I want it going out all sides of the bow. So I think I am going to be breaking these apart and gluing them in individually. So most picks you can kind of just yank apart. Normally I have my glue pot on, but I was not prepared to be using it, so I just have my glue gun, which will still work. So these tall ones, I'm not even going to bother cutting. I'm going to stab them in through the top here and one coming out the bottom there. So I guess I'll do this one first since it's closest. You take your pick and you just poke it into your wreath. You have to work it kind of around the mesh because you want to get it to where you can kind of wrap it around your wreath form. So you get it in there. You make sure it's kind of sticking out where you want it. And then you just secure it to the wreath form. I just bend the stem around the frame. It ain't going nowhere. It's just so pretty. Okay. And then I'm just going to go piece by piece, adding it in. Let me get another glue stick. And then I'm just going to be adding glue onto this whole stem and then poking it into the wreath. So you want to definitely have an idea of where you want it to go. You find a way in and you stick it in. And then after, at the end, I usually will flip my wreath over, and if any pieces of the pick are like poking out, I will bend them down and around the frame. It's just easier for me now to glue them all in where I want them and then flip it over at the same time. Put some glue on. Get it to where you want it. Okay, now I'm going to rotate my wreath, and I'm going to do the same thing to this bow. Same type of placement. So I want a pick coming out the top. So I'm going to figure out a good spot. Get it to where it's going into the wreath. The trick is getting it past all of the mesh. Just play with it a little bit, stick it in, and then bend it around the wreath form. And after you're done, you can give your wreath a slight like shake test, and if anything's loose, you can just secure it in with floral wire, ribbon, pipe cleaner, whatever you have to use. All right. Stick that in. So pretty. And I had 3 picks. I think I'm only going to use 2 because I want to keep the focal points basically by those 2 bows. But then again, at the end, I might change my mind. I'm going to add ribbon in and everything, so technically I might add the other one in to see fit. Oh, it's so pretty. It's very hard for me to sell these things because I want to keep them all. All right. So big it doesn't even fit on the screen. So there's the top half. See how the picks are coming out all the sides. And then here's the bottom. Same type of thing. I'm trying to keep my focal point here. I'm going to add a little bit of ribbon here. Just little pieces. I'm probably going to do 12 inches. And I'm going to be using these just to add a little bit of glitz. So I'm going to start with 2 pieces. 1 for each side. So I'm going to dovetail them. When using Fray Check, if you have a ribbon that is all solid glitter, you don't have to Fray Check it. Because when they put the glitter on, it like seals the ends anyway. You only need to Fray Check like fabric, definitely sheer if you use sheer ribbon. So this one I'm going to add a little bit of Fray Check to. Okay. Let it dry for a second. So I'm going to pinch this and twist it into There's a peg here and a peg here. I'm going to add this stripe here because this ribbon is in the back, so I don't want to add the same one right on top of it. So this is the one I'm going to twist onto this one. Just to add a little bit of color to that area. Such a difference. Gather it. Twist it on. Once I'm done with these pegs, I do twist, like I push them down towards the back. It's not that big of a deal if you have a wreath form that matches your project, but sometimes the wreath forms don't match perfectly and they show more. I just bend the ribbons wherever you want them. This one, I angled them both out since that's where that gap was. This one I have a piece going here and a piece going here. Do the same thing here. I have a peg here and a peg here. So I'm going to add this one into this peg since it's over this stripe. I'm angling both of these out. There's no point in adding ribbon if it's just going to go behind the sign. So round it out a little bit. I'm going to add this one here. Perfect, and I am done. Here is the finished product. I know it's hard to see because my camera is so close. How pretty is that? I love it. All right, so if you would like to buy this, it's going to be for sale. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel because I try to have all different styles, different techniques, completely different random projects. But yeah, I hope you have a great day crafting.